We are live. This is the market update, the meltdown market update. I am your host, Bill Noble. Are we witnessing the delayed effect of the Bybit hack? Did Bybit put everyone's ETH back, but did they have to sell everything else that they had? Because that's sure what it looks like. Last night, I'm sitting around Sunday night minding my own business, and all of a sudden, everything's down 5%. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. What is this? So a little bit of a negative surprise. As one of my coworkers said, where's all this going to be in a year? This to me, even though people have said this before, this feels like a final puke. This feels like everybody just packs it up on altcoins in general. Bitcoin dominance goes to 62%. And everybody just gives up because the price action is so bad. Now, you can be looking at 2 to 3 more days of this. I'm not going to lie. And I did say up front that things like Bybit normally don't resolve themselves in a day. But I do think certain charts are getting to the point where, it's stretched out to the downside, particularly in Solana. We'll also talk about, an update in the antivirus coin that, I knew it was there, but I didn't fully understand it, particularly if you compare the new Solana mixer to Tornado Cash. When someone explained this to me, I was like, wow. I tweeted about it. We'll go over it because at least there's one bright spot in this market. Okay, let's welcome who's here, right? Who's left in the ashes of the market? Diogo, Yav, Huber's Ranch, what's up? Taz Pinball, Vitali, welcome. Steven, CL Sim, SGSG is back. Warmon, Vanessa, Grandpa Keeter, what's up? Dara, welcome to the show. Hungy is here with love from South Korea. Much love to you, sir. Thank you for tuning in. Miguel, Jake, Old Smoky, David, Arendam. One day we got to have a world tour and visit all these places in far off lands, far off compared to Texas, that is. Hang out and meet everybody. Okay, what are we going to do today? We're going to go over news. We're going to look at DeMark work and Lux Algo. Okay, mainly the DeMark work shows how close we are to having this thing like come to an end. Just don't know if it comes to like an ugly, grotesque end because again, stuff like Bybit, something that big does not get resolved in a day. It just doesn't, right? Because it was that big. All right, so let's go through the news, all things macro, all things crypto. Okay, so which will be the crypto hub of Asia, Hong Kong or Singapore? Honestly, in legacy, it's both. And if they're going to race each other, you're going to have price action in crypto. You're going to have price action in Chinese stocks that reflect some very simple facts. One, the Chinese are printing massively, and that is literally never going to end, just like it never ended with the United States. Like once they start down that path, they never stop. Never. Okay. And then there are other things going on in Japan where they've got issues with the yen, their population, and debt. So today the focus is on, oh my God, it's down 5%, which, frankly, I found that shocking last night. And crypto loves to do these things on weekends. However, you do have to remember that a year from now, the Chinese and the Japanese and all of Asia will be involved in this massively. And that includes Web3, which is assumed to be dead because of the price action, right? And even if you don't believe that, What could be happening in this market is just a simple purge of excess. Now, I know that that doesn't help everybody, particularly if you're long and if you liked what you were long, or if you were long the stuff that, you know, if you went all in on meme coins, just the market is purging excess, right? This is going to go down probably over the next 3 days until everyone realizes that, we shouldn't do stupid things anymore. It also reminds me of the election, right? March 4th is State of the Union. The Orange Man has done everything that he said he was going to do and more, to the point where, the latest shock of the day isn't a shock of the day. Okay. So, that's coming up. And then just like the election, they were just selling it with reckless abandon in front of the State of the Union. Same thing. Same thing. Like the 2 days before the election, Benjamin Cohen were saying altcoins are going to zero. And that was it. It's seriously same exact price action. Selling on hacks, selling on market disruptions, selling at the end of a purge of meme coin excess. I mean, like what? Solana's going to go to 120 or what? What's the worst case in Solana? I don't know. But where's Solana going to be in a year? Right? And again, they're selling it in front of the Solana phone coming out. Joe Rogan, we talked about this yesterday. Joe Rogan followed the Solana phone page, right? Undoubtedly paid marketing, but still, right? The Solana phone is going to get people's attention. All right, now moving into macro. 70% of Americans want Elon to keep going. 80% of swing voters now support Doge. Congress needs to get on board or they'll be out of a job at the midterm elections in 2 years, right? In other words, Elon is turning Doge into some sort of pop culture entity. Now, some of this stuff feels a little bit, I don't know, draconian in terms of how they're treating the people who actually work at the government. Like the Defense Department and the Pentagon says, we are not sending you any emails about what we do here all day. We're not sending you that stuff. Now, in a way, that's funny, right? And in a way, it's not funny because, for all the publicity, and I know people like it and it's fun, it's mob justice against, Uncle Sugar and all these bad people over the last, 4 years. Mortgage rates are down, but they're not down massively. Right. They're down to 6.85%. And really, in order to get housing unlocked, it really has to be at 5 or below. You need mortgage rates down like 175 basis points in order to get people to say, all right, I'll trade in my 3% loan for a 5% loan so I can get a different house. So they got a long way to go before they impress the bond market. Now, the good news is they're not going to stop until they do. And that is long-term constructive crypto, because there's been something called the Mar-a-Lago Accords, which means, they want the dollar lower and they want rates down. And they're going to continue on this path until they get it. Right. But it's not there right this second, at least not for housing. Anybody who wants to buy a house is going to have to get involved and get into an appreciating asset, okay, like crypto. And the best time to get into appreciating asset like crypto is at the point where everyone who loves crypto is panicking. We're 5 days away from a new COMEX vault record after another 270,000 ounces of gold was delivered on Friday amid shocking rumors that up to 2,000 tons of gold were delivered to the United States in the past 2 months. Okay. Delivery defaults loom. All right. So, I'm not entirely sure what's going on here, but there is a panic going on in gold. And somebody who wants gold is not going to get it. That's the worst kept secret in the world. And when that happens, you're going to have a problem in the financial markets. You're going to have a problem in legacy, because you can't just go, oh, well, sorry. There's a bank in there in the middle that guarantees that. All right. So, a disturbance in legacy benefits crypto long term, because crypto is currently trading like there is no value proposition to the entire asset class. And that's wrong, because with crypto, at least like with Bitcoin, if you if you've bought Bitcoin like Michael Saylor, they know how much Bitcoin you have. All right. Steve Cohen says tariff and Doge cuts are negative for the economy and a market correction could come soon. Okay. So, this is not a dumb guy saying this, but it's really a stock market problem. It is a stock market problem. Like, if there are problems in the world, it's that the stock market's hyperinflated. It's not a bubble, right? Because people are aware of the high valuations and et cetera. And, there is going to be a new prosperous world because of AI. I don't buy into the whole AI results in an immediate apocalypse. It results in labor market disruptions. But I also think equities could have a major problem in September, right? In other words, this feels a lot like the froth from the late 80s where, if you have a hyperinflated stock market or a stock market that's just massively overbought, you're going to have rectember in equities. Okay, so just in case you think that you don't need privacy, I know that they changed the German government, thank God, right? But, these guys in the UK just keep on at it, right? They'll put you in jail for what you're doing on Facebook, and we're trying to end what's going on in Russia, and these guys are doubling down on sanctions. Like, you got to be kidding me. Like, the Orange Man has made it abundantly clear. We want this over, done, right? Over. And here, it's like the U.S. is going to remove sanctions and the UK is putting it on. Now, look, I'm not here to get massively political, but do sovereigns have your interests at heart? Like, I'm Ukrainian. I am not a fan of Putin. I'm upset that they invaded the country, and I'm even more upset that we essentially opened the door and either let them, we let them do it, and we gave them reason to do it. So they got to stop all the dying because, Ukraine isn't going to be Ukraine anymore. It's not. They don't do something to stop it. And, it's just a slight digression because you have to ask yourself, do sovereigns have your interests at heart? Do they? Right? Even the ones you like. Okay, Donald Trump says, looks like the Conservative Party in Germany has won the very big and highly anticipated election. The people of Germany got tired of the no common sense agenda. This is a great day for Germany. Congratulations, and hopefully more victories to follow. If we could just get Europe to the center, right? Europe is like traditionally like, I don't know, maybe like, they alternate between center left and center right. Like if we could just get Europe back to the center, we'd be okay. And it would allow the dollar to go lower because nobody wants to buy the euro. In order for the dollar to go lower, realistically, somebody has to be willing to buy a currency of another country. People may want to buy the yen and they may want to buy the euro. The yen is a whole separate story, but this German election matters because it can help get the dollar lower. Apple to invest $500 billion in the U.S. over the next 4 years. Man, do I love to see Silicon Valley down on one knee, paying homage to the Godfather, going, oh, please, don't wreck me with tariffs. I'll build something in the United States. Love to see it, right? It's like power should lie with what the people want, not with what the characters that run these big companies want. Seriously. Now, again, good for Tim Cook for saying, hey, let's build stuff here. Good for him. Right. But, from a Bitcoin strategic reserve or from a digital assets or a sovereign wealth fund point of view, what the Orange Man wants, the Orange Man's going to get. Period. SEC ends investigation into Robinhood. And here's my comment. People think crypto needs regulatory clarity. They don't realize the SEC not suing everybody is regulatory clarity. People don't see this, but they eventually will, right? I mean, the SEC has got everybody going, oh, well, we need regulatory clarity. Oh, okay. Actually, we don't. We just need the government to stay out of the way and let the market function. All right. Now, let's talk about stocks, right? Everybody thinks stocks need to blow up. I do think stocks are going to have a massive correction. I would love to tell you it's because, people are going to reallocate to other assets like crypto. I would love to tell you that that's going to happen. And hopefully it does. But, here are the counter arguments against a bubble in stocks. I think we can all agree that there's an argument that stocks, particularly the big tech stocks, are a bubble, mainly because, let's just say AI is priced in. AI is where blockchain was in 2017. There are lots of cool applications, but, they're not profitable yet. So the price earnings ratio in the S&P is high, but not insane. Okay. The Magnificent Seven are incredible companies, so a higher valuation is justified. I don't hear people saying there's no price too high in stocks. Ironically, we hear that in Bitcoin, which does scare me a little bit. Okay. The markets, while high priced and perhaps frothy, don't seem nutty. Okay. So I guess what I'm trying to say is everybody thinks that stocks need to go to zero. I just think you're going to have a hefty correction in the fall, which is not atypical. So is that going to wreck crypto? No. And one of the reasons that what's going on with crypto is Bybit most related is stocks were doing fine last night. Stocks got wrecked on Friday because they were afraid of something going on with the yen. And then they were like, yeah. Meanwhile, crypto's getting completely wrecked. It's got to be like Bybit positioning. Now, interestingly, there's a big hedge fund named Brevan Howard. It's huge, right? And, if you work for Brevan Howard and you're not making money as a portfolio manager, you get asked to leave. It is a very hard place to work. So if you could stay at Brevan Howard for more than 2 years, man, you must be something else. I'm serious. Like if your P&L is flat, you're out. Like you got to be up a lot or you're gone. But Brevan Howard, even though it's having a tough time right now, is actively investing in emerging blockchain and crypto firms, highlighting its approach to diversifying its bets on this emerging market class. So here's a big hedge fund, a big hedge fund that's now got $1.3 billion in Bitcoin ETFs. And Brevan Howard is taking a longer-term view on the markets. And as one of the early movers, they are reaping the benefits. All right. So it's interesting that they are willing to take the shot now to get invested for crypto later, right? Being early is actually hard. Everyone's like, oh yeah, I'm early. Yes, let's be early. Yeah, frequently when you're early, you have to kind of sit around and watch nothing happen or sit around and watch everyone puke, which is what's going on now, right? I mean, everyone's like, well, we're not early anymore. Really? What happens if Bitcoin goes to say 200K and it takes the rest of the market with it? Or even if Bitcoin goes to 120K and reaches kind of an escape velocity where everybody stops freaking out about the resistance at 100. What happens? Right? So being early is not easy. It isn't. Okay, this Bybit stuff stinks for 3 reasons, right? I had to follow whoever this is. They're speculating. In other words, they're short ETH. And they may have covered the short and sold everything else. That's what it feels like to me. They're calling borrowed funds customer assets without explaining. Okay. I'm not sure what that means, but basically it sounds like they called in all the loans. So if they've loaned you crypto, they basically said, we want it back. They're taking ETH loans from other entities who also take ETH customer deposits. So basically, someone out there is loaning your ETH to Bybit. No customer knows where they stand with certainty, and that's why everyone's selling, right? In other words, these things are not over in a day. At least I got that right, right? But, you just woke up and everything was down 5% when, honestly, the charts were starting to look halfway decent. Stuff was down, but not out. So, you had like an uptick. People actually wanted to go back into meme coins. They wanted to speculate, and then they just unloaded, right? Because everybody at Bybit who can't get their money out, sell, right? Bybit covers their short. Bybit spends all the money that it has to buy ETH or whatever. They get the ETH or they get most of the ETH, and then they have to liquidate all their other positions. Either way, right? This hack had negative events, and sovereigns need to get after these hackers. Period. You cannot have adoption in the space with just criminals operating with impunity, right? The primary job of government is to protect the people. Now, if there's any good news that's going to come out of this, is that they're going to get on top of these guys, right? And you know what? Honestly, that could include the Chinese. Because if you go back to the original headline, where we're talking about, is Hong Kong going to become a financial center or not? Hong Kong's not going to become a crypto financial center if you have North Korean hackers going into places like Bybit and taking what they want. So, these hackers can have fun. They're going to get taken out to the woodshed. And I wouldn't doubt that if this price action continues, that Vitalik all on his lonesome just says, we're going to do something with the Ethereum blockchain to stop this. Right? Because it's going to, this can go on for 2 or 3 days if everybody who's on Bybit and Bybit itself starts selling. Now, the good news is, I guess, if you have capital to deploy or if you have losses you're going to take in sludge that you got trapped in, you're going to have money to rotate into higher quality cryptos. Like, honestly, one of the higher quality cryptos, I think, that everybody is packing it in on is Solana. Like if they purge the meme coin excess out of Solana and Solana goes back to what it was years ago, which is a hot, fast payment and phone company, Solana could be worth a lot. And that, the whole meme coin investment thing or the meme coin speculation thing is not going away. It's just being purged right now because they went too far. Kanye coin, I was thinking Kanye coin was the end if they issued it. Turns out Kanye coin was the end, even discussing that kind of garbage, right? Okay, so Bybit is launching a hack bounty platform to track cyber criminals. Yeah, dude, I don't think that's going to get the North Koreans, but good try, right? The only people who are going to get the North Koreans are an intelligence service, right? And I hope they get on that hard. Okay, 4 years ago, Michael Saylor said Bitcoin is going to be bigger than Apple, Amazon, and Facebook. That's when Bitcoin was at 20K, and everyone laughed at him. To first be a genius, you must be a moron. Like, you must be a moron before you're a genius. Because when you're a genius, you see things that no one else sees. And this guy was just like, it's going up, and that's it. And that's the kind of conviction you have to have in the markets, particularly when you wake up and you're like, what? Like last night, it even happened to me. I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me with this? Like I'm parked in Solana and Bitcoin, and I'm taking material heat on these positions, saying nothing about alts and the rest of the market. I'm like, what? But then you're reminded that Mike just sat around at 20K, $20,000 of Bitcoin underwater. And it's just like, yeah, it's going to be bigger than Apple. That's it. Michael Saylor announced an 8% Series A perpetual strike preferred stock offering, continuing their bold Bitcoin focus treasury strategy from January. But what does a perpetual preferred strike mean? All right. I'm not going to explain that, right? Because I'd have to chat GBT it and get a finance textbook out, and then you'd be disinterested. The bottom line is Michael Saylor, okay, his stock is here, right? It's roughly 1.7 worth 1.7 times more than the Bitcoin that it holds. Okay. So, you know what Michael Saylor is going to do? He's going to sell MicroStrategy or issue MicroStrategy or sell any type of security to anybody who will take it, who needs Bitcoin exposure through MicroStrategy so he can get money to buy more Bitcoin. That's it. Stock market's doing okay. MicroStrategy doesn't trade great, but whatever. He doesn't care. He only cares about getting more Bitcoin, which is interesting, right? We should kind of maybe follow that example, especially on days when it's down. So they acquired 20,000 Bitcoin at 97K. Okay. It looks like we hold almost 500,000 Bitcoin at an average price of 66K. %44 of US Bitcoin ETF buyers, okay, have been for long-term holdings, while the rest is tied to arbitrage strategies. Okay. 10X research says that this means the actual demand for Bitcoin as a long-term asset in multi-asset portfolios is significantly smaller than the media portrays. Okay, so this is bearish news, and I think there was bearish news out of Montana, where ironically you would have figured Montana would have been a sure thing for Bitcoin strategic reserve, and they voted against it. Okay. So yes, the Bitcoin ETF is not being used by every mutual fund, every pension fund, every retirement plan yet, right? In other words, okay, we've known for a while that short-term speculation and things like that have driven Bitcoin ETF demand. So if Bitcoin went low enough, these guys might all puke these positions out. Okay. Meanwhile, here's a question. Who's going to have a problem first? Fiat or Bitcoin, right? This means it hasn't been adopted yet. So BlackRock has $50 billion in the Bitcoin ETF, and pension funds have not showed up yet. Mutual funds have not showed up yet. Long-term portfolios, 401ks, have not showed up yet. Okay, so you have short-term speculative demand, arbitrage, trading, whatever. Okay. So it's not there yet. It's not there yet. That means there are more people coming in my mind, right? There are more people coming because all you need is a problem with the yen, a problem with the dollar. You know, Elon's out cutting, and they can't get the bond market to react. We can't get the bond market to react. They can't get housing unlocked. So you may like Elon, you may like the people running the government. You know, it may be great theater, but that's all it is. So you don't think the smart people out there know this? They know this, right? It's just a question of when they get here. BlackRock now holds 1 million Ethereum versus worth over 3 billion. So, you know, Ethereum's been in the news. Ethereum's hacked. Ethereum's terrible. Somebody's going to run DeFi on Ethereum. You're watching what's going on with what used to be Phantom and Sonic, now called Sonic, right? The coin of the DEX, Shadow. Now, it would be nice if that happened on ETH, but you're one big problem away from needing decentralized finance in legacy. And who knows, you know, it's like, oh, you can pay gas on ETH or you can get hacked on Bybit. No one has asked these questions, right? If this Solana is the only DEX in the world, it isn't if you follow what's going on with Shadow and Sonic. Okay, so good news, bad news on the state front. Georgia introduces a Bitcoin bill, and everyone assumes the Bitcoin bills will pass, right up until Montana says no, and I'll have to grok it later. But I believe Cynthia Loomis is a senator from Montana. So I saw this. When I first saw this, I was like, oh, this is bearish. But then I'm like, all right, well, it's not a crisis. And then the whole market just vaporized like 5 hours later. If they're doing the Bitcoin strategic reserve, I figured they would start at the state level. If the orange man doesn't say something constructive and do something constructive on Bitcoin or something on March 4th, particularly since he can do, possibly no taxes on American crypto transactions, we need him to do something, right? Particularly since everybody seems to be selling on Bybit. That said, no one thought there was going to be a crypto constructive outcome from the election, and it looks like they're giving up on the State of the Union. Okay, so yesterday, social interest in meme coins was up sharply, right? So everybody got caught dipping their toe back into the meme coin pool, and then they threw in the toaster again, right? Everybody got caught again, right? Doge, Pepe, Trump, Bonk, Unicorn Fart Dust, Fartcoin, Giga Chad. Okay. All stuff largely has been dumped on retail, and retail came back for more and they unloaded on them again. Most likely Bybit, right? Okay. Major rotation into top coins, Ski, Mantra, Ethereum. Everyone chased what was up and they got smoked. This is how you know you're in like this capital destruction, revulsion, despair period. Anytime somebody tries to buy it on the upside, they get smoked. Like if you try to chase something that's been outperforming, you get hurt. And then people don't want to play anymore. And then that's the low, right? Which is what you're witnessing. I mean, FTX, the low was made on massive system-wide forced liquidation. And you may have the same thing going on with Bybit. It's just not fraud related and systemic, or so we hope, right? We just hope everybody just sells, does what they have to do. Everybody on Bybit who can't get their money out because, there was all this, the CEO's doing a wonderful job and everything's going fine and it's all sunshine and roses. We have all this under control. And then people go, oh, and they sell, right? Because, that would have been my first reaction on Bybit. It apparently wasn't everybody's first reaction, but it's happening. These things are not over in a day. They're just not. Okay. Our meme coins here to stay. Venture capitalists weigh in. So remember the meme coin super cycle? Remember meme coin ETFs? Remember all this stuff? So meme coins are fun. Meme coins are also a distraction, right? Now, on the positive side, meme coins are actually a way to do crypto without the vulture capitalists, right? Venture capitalists, they create a coin. Solana was one of them. A coin gets built, right? They ramp it from 3 cents to $200 last cycle and then dump it on everyone's head. And then it goes to $10 on the FTX disaster. Okay. Meme coins came into play because people were tired of the venture capitalist pump and dump. So instead, they got algorithmic developers pumping and dumping on pump.fun to the point where rug pulls, which used to be this like huge headline, repulsive event where you would have a DeFi platform rug, back in the last cycle. No, it's just like, oh, well, yeah, what's the rug of today? What's today's rug? Or what's the like coffee break rug, the lunch rug, the breakfast rug, the snack rug, the dinner rug, the after dinner drink rug. It's like, it just happens all the time. Everyone's like, oh yeah, everything's rugging. Yeah, sure. That's just how crypto works. It's like, no, dude, that is not how crypto works. That's not a functioning market. So if that's what it is, then I've said this, the market's going to go lower. If that's what crypto is, then they have to mark everything down until it stops. Like everyone's like, oh, well, we don't want Gensler and we don't want regulators and we don't want this and we don't want that. Okay, then what do you get? You get the market. The market has to take care of it. So we're going to purge excess. And that's also what's happening, right? So you have Kanye West coin at a point where you have Bybit and selling, you can't see where it's coming from. That's why these things are not over in a day, because you don't know where the selling's coming from. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know what Bybit's doing. Like one guy's like said, yeah, they're borrowing stuff, they're jockeying stuff around. And really at the end of the day, I think what happens is either the customers or Bybit itself has to sell to make this right somehow. Okay. But if you don't want Gensler doing it, then the market's going to do it. So if the market is stupid and wants Kanye coin, the market's going lower. Now, the good news is I'm hoping that this is over at the end of the month, right? That they just all do this and all the hedge funds puke out their losses and everyone just goes, okay, I'm done. It's over. Crypto's over. It's going to zero. And then it turns. Right? Okay. So here's our article about Hong Kong and Singapore going at it. All right. Let's go to some charts. Okay. Tau. Notice not down. Interesting. Okay. Okay. So let's go to Solana. So Solana is disturbing. It's disturbing. Okay. It's one of the reasons why I think this may be some kind of overshoot, meaning people are puking this when maybe it's overdone, right? Solana is all the way back down to where it was before the election. This is November 4th. So you have Lux Algo reversal signals here coming in. And then I guess they're doing one final puke for good measure, right? Shocking. Not going to lie. Now, if we move over to DeMark and we look at Solana over here. Okay, so here's the good news. This 0 and 5 means that when this is over, that's the low. That's what that means. And you have an 11, and then you'll go 12 and 13. I don't know how low this has to go. There's support at 131. I don't know. Again, if Bybit is not over in one day and you have the 13 bottom and these two signals, basically at the end of the week, you're going to be like, yeah, I'm going to want to be long Solana, right? Bitcoin, I don't know. There's a DeMark point at 89K, and you could have 3 more days of this because it's, this count that goes from 1 through 13. It's out of 10. And ironically, this was developed so that, let's say someone huge wanted to scale in, they would start scaling in. Like they would start buying at 10, 11, 12. And then when it gets to 13, they may have to start buying with a little bit more urgency or a little bit more aggressively. Or they would wait for it to turn, confirm the bottom, and then go. It doesn't look good, but it looks like in 3 days it's going to be over. We don't know what price it's going to be over, right? XRP, this was really unfortunate that they couldn't get like this candle looked like they wanted to get it going. These two candles were okay. And then it falls off a cliff, right? Not falls off a cliff, but it goes down. And now, it makes you think that if this market really gets wrecked, that XRP could take it on the chin, right? Because XRP on a daily chart is not showing anything like Solana and Bitcoin are that you could get some kind of bottom. It's not showing that. But, XRP also is in a range. It's in a range. Okay, so ETH on a daily chart in this completely bizarre square range. I can't even, it's like, yesterday there was a 13 top in ETH on the 4-hour chart, which, had a lot of meaning because they just immediately turned around and crushed it. 2,600 is a support point, and I don't know what's below the market. I don't know what's below 2,600, right? This was held up artificially by Bybit buying. And I don't know. I mean, we'll see if 2,600 holds, right? My opinion pre-Bybit was that you needed one more puke in ETH versus Bitcoin to make the ETH versus Bitcoin low. So February, ETH is still down versus Bitcoin. And then if you open up March and ETH continues to underperform, that could finally be it. Or so we hope, right? The next time ETH dramatically underperforms Bitcoin, that could be a major low. But this Bybit thing interrupted that by giving you this artificial ETH outperformance, right? Okay. So, all right. So we talked about ski yesterday, right? And it's the same story, right? 62% retracement, right? It sits there, it gets below it, it tries to come back right here and fails, right? It was the same way at the 50% retracement. You hang out and then it breaks down and it can't get back through it. And it just fails. And we did the same thing yesterday with the 78% retracement. And it looked like it was Ski Mask was like, yeah, man, let's go. We're off to the races. Boom. All right. So if these things cannot, if people are not willing to pay higher prices and bag holders are just getting out, then this is the type of price action that you get. Right. And, I know this sucks. I know people like it, but it can't take out the correct technical levels, right? Okay. Virtuals is in a similar condition, although it's not as bad as what's going on in Ski Mask, right? So, Virtuals is trying to hang in there on the 78% retracement. And I think the simple fact of the matter is if ETH kind of gives out, like if this artificial bid that ETH has doesn't hold, the market could get smacked because, the fact that this at 1.1 billion, that no one wants it after it traded at 5 billion, that's a little bit disturbing. But again, it doesn't look as bad because it's just trying to hang in there at the level. So if the market gets destroyed and this doesn't get destroyed and it kind of hangs around the level, you just don't want to see these failed rallies or these big rejections, right? But, a mess in ETH or a mess in the market, you're looking to see what holds up. All right. So let's talk about something perhaps more positive. Okay, so antivirus is lower this morning like everything else, but it's not getting wrecked. It's not getting wrecked. So this is the 4-hour chart, and it's stable, relatively speaking, and here's why. Someone explained this to me last night. So Antivirus just came out with a Solana mixer. Now, what is a mixer? Well, a mixer is you drop Solana in, you type in a code, and it spits the Solana out in the wallet address that you give it, and it doesn't leave a track. It doesn't leave a trace. In other words, you get privacy. In other words. Now, I didn't realize this, but that's what Tornado Cash was, which of course explains why they just picked this guy up after he wrote some code and threw him in jail. But he's not in jail anymore. So Tornado Cash is an ETH mixer, and Antivirus has made the Solana mixer. Now get this. I didn't get this. There's a 2% fee. So when you put Solana in, 2% of whatever you put in automatically goes to buy Antivirus, which is a Solana token. And guess what Antivirus does with that 2% fee? With those tokens, they burn it. Tornado Cash which has a $40 million market cap, doesn't have a burn mechanism. Initial volume in Tornado Cash, because when it came out, it was a big deal. Initial volume was 250 million. Now, Antivirus, is not known enough yet. But can you imagine if there was a fraction of that volume, you'd have between $10,000 and $60,000 worth of anti being burnt per day in an 8 million market cap coin. At something called the Libertarian Convention, I'm pretty sure both RFK, right, when he spoke, and the Orange Man at Bitcoin Nashville promised us transactional freedom. They said, we're not going to go and we're not going to regulate your MetaMask. We're not going to tell you can't move stuff around. I'm like, so we got an 8 million market cap coin. And then these guys, the head of the project, who's like a project manager, the head of the project told me that they're making project progress on cross-chain. So Antivirus could be able to do it with ETH and Solana. Plus the fact that Antivirus has been delivering every week. These are the facts. This is not a shill. They said they were going to do e-gift cards and they did it. You can buy a gift card. You pay a fee in Anti. No one knows it's you. Okay. And then you can buy a SIM card on a phone. I did it. So you can have data on your phone and do Telegram or whatever. And you can't be tracked, which, could be great in the emerging market world where people just need to use crypto to get a phone plan. If you don't have a bank account, right? It's seriously, the users are in Africa. A lot of users are in Africa. And of course, in the UK, good luck doing Facebook if they can track you. Seriously. I mean, I guess they can read your Facebook page, but at least they can't track your phone. Privacy freaking matters. And these guys are doing it with tokenomics. And like I said, I did this tweet, this tweet for me, I don't know if they retweeted it from the big McAfee Twitter account. This has 10K impressions. When I do a tweet, I'll be lucky if I get 1,000. This is moving, right? And here's some character with 300 followers saying that, oh my God, this is terrible. I wonder how this is going to play out with the US Treasury. It's hey, bro, Janet printed for 4 years at the Treasury and another 4 years at the Fed, roughly. They have 4.7 trillion that they can't find. But, my 3 Solana is an issue. It's the $600 in PayPal, right? If you live in the United Kingdom and you want some privacy from people who will put you in jail for what you do on Facebook, excuse me for wanting, to protect myself or not have Skynet or any computer or anybody that doesn't like me peering into my life, which is what John McAfee wanted. These guys are delivering it with some level of tokenomics, which is probably why Antivirus can at least hang out at 8 million. But, if you compare the memeability of John McAfee, the AI agent that talks, and this kind of tokenomics in a down market, right? This is what happens. Everyone's like, well, I'm not early. Or, well, gee, I wish I had bought Bitcoin in 2013. Well, my play is Antivirus. That's what I own. I have that, right? That's my thing. I bought that. I own that, right? Okay. Late breaking news. Okay. Retail investor demand for Bitcoin is rising. 30-day demand change surging back to neutral after hitting negative 21 levels seen last in 2021. Yeah. So people packed it in on Bitcoin. It's amazing. People got negative and now they're turning around and starting to get positive. BTC retail investor volume, 30-day change. So retail was really into it, then they were really not into it, and now they're coming back. You know why? Because everybody knows, like, it's the price of eggs. It's eggs. It's people like, you know what? This currency is hosed. And I know what they're trying to do, but people are not stupid. They're just not stupid. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there for today. We will see you tomorrow.